Ask any long-haul driver about exit 23 after midnight. They'll grin, go quiet, or tell you to keep rolling. Most of us don't spook easy. We run blizzards, break smoke, and bad motels. I'm 12 years OTR with a clean MVR and a stubborn streak. On paper, this is a violation report that never got filed. Off paper, it's the night exit 23 tried to give me time back. That's the bait. Time is everything in a trucker's life. My ELD was screaming I had 22 minutes left on my clock. The interstate shoulders were lined with reefers idling and hazard lights. Every legal spot within 50 miles was taken. Dispatch said, deliver 6 a.m., no exceptions, penalties if late. I was heavy on produce, tandems back, reefer set 34 continuous. The 2 places ahead on my route were full. Exit 23's faded blue sign promised food fuel service. Under it, somebody had sharped, not after midnight. CB lit up with warnings as I approached the mile marker. Breaker 19, keep your wheels under you past 23. You stop there now, you don't like what climbs in. I smiled and clicked the squelch down. Ghost stories sell coffee, I told myself, eyes grit burning. I had 19 minutes and a company policy about violations. I took exit 23. The off-ramp was longer than it looked from the lane. The concrete had tar snakes braided into loops like handwriting. My headlights picked out reflectors that didn't reflect until they moved. Halfway down, my AM radio woke and found a station. A jingle about coffee played like it was underwater and older. I clicked it off, it clicked itself back on. At the stop sign, I should have seen a modern truck stop. Instead the canopy ahead said Wayne's in neon that breathed. Diesel price rolled at $1.49 like a museum exhibit. 2 kabovers sat by the pumps, square noses, chrome smiling dead. Their stacks didn't shimmer heat. No one hustled around with squeegees or def jugs. I rolled in anyway because my clock didn't believe nostalgia. The asphalt was rutted exactly where tires always are, but dry. I smelled hot brakes, burned coffee, and something electric like ozone. The reefer unit behind me cycled and flashed a code it shouldn't. SENLO, but I had a full belly tank. I shut it down and restarted, the code stayed like a smile. Inside the store, the air was warm without heat. Coolers sweated, but the beads crawled upward, not down. A bulletin board held cat scale tickets browned like old bread. Every ticket listed exit 23 in neat blue ink. Every date had no year, just a month and a day. A bell tinkled, real metal, as I stepped to the counter. The glass was thick, the kind for graveyard shifts and checks. A woman in a starched uniform turned with a coffee pot. Her tag said Agnes in black letters that absorbed light. You look short on hours, honey, she said without moving her lips. That's when I noticed the mirror behind the pie case. Outside, my truck was parked where I'd left it. In the mirror, it idled 3 inches forward and back. Steam uncurled into the glass instead of up to the ceiling. Agnes poured coffee that warmed my hands but didn't steam. No charge for night drivers, she said, eyes on my chest. My company logo wasn't on this shirt. She still said the carrier name perfectly, in my ears. A man in the corner booth raised 2 fingers for a refill. He wore a denim jacket patched with old fuel brand logos. His beard was the color of salt thrown on asphalt. Don't top off here, he said without looking up. They'll give you back what you want. They always take more. What more? He slid a paper logbook across the table, open to emptiness. Whole weeks torn out clean, like they never existed. My ELD pinged with a sound it shouldn't make. It flashed restore available drive time. In block letters. Agnes put a leather guest book on the counter near me. Sign the night sheet and your troubles are over, sugar. The pen was chained, heavy, warm like a held hand. The page already carried impressions, faint, as if traced. I leaned closer and saw the first letters of my name appearing. I hadn't touched the pen. The corner driver cleared his throat like gravel in a drum. Don't let them write it for you. Ours ain't free. Outside, the CB crackled even with the squelch buried. Breaker 19, exit 23 is hot tonight. I left coffee I couldn't taste and walked for the door. Agnes smiled with every tooth and none of the warmth. See you on the way back, she said like a promise. My truck waited, lights off, windows blacker than glass usually gets. As I reached for the handle, someone inside adjusted the seat. The silhouette had my hat on and my posture. He turned the wheel a fraction and set the brake again. In the mirror of the diner window, the cab was empty. On the hood, frost wrote circles in July heat. My ELD pinged again, softer, more like a heartbeat. Restore available drive time, sign to accept. The glass behind me reflected a hand reaching for the pen. My hand stayed at the door. The other one didn't know that yet. A whisper came from the sleeper, layered with radio static and breath. It used my handle from years ago, the one I quit. Road Bishop, it said, like a smile pressed through a speaker cloth. Haven't heard that since a kid in Amarillo keyed up on 19. Agnes' bell tinkled again, though the door hadn't opened. In the corner booth, the old driver was gone without scuffing. His logbook lay open to a fresh blank week waiting for ink. The cab silhouette leaned and popped my hood latch release. I grabbed the handle, whatever wears your name owns your rig. I popped the hood and the night breathed out of the engine bay. The fan spun the wrong way, steady, though the key was in my pocket. Belts crawled like film run backward, and the coolant in the reservoir shivered without boiling. On the cowl, somebody had written dates in dust with a fingertip, then wiped them clean. I could still read the pressure where the letters had been, like paper beneath a hard pen. My VIN plate looked dull, numbers soft as if the metal had remembered another truck before mine. Inside the cab, my seat sighed and clicked 2 notches forward all by itself. I saw my cap tilt in the dark and my hands on the wheel, except I was standing at the bumper. The silhouette turned my way and tipped an invisible brim like we were brothers meeting at a way station. Road Bishop, it said through the air brakes hiss, and the dash lights bled a color they don't make anymore. I hit the battery cutoff under the step and killed every light I could kill. Radio kept talking like there was still alternator somewhere, playing a weather bulletin for counties that don't exist. Inside the diner window, my rig sat empty as a photo, but my hood latch clicked again from the cab. I slammed the hood and the sound came back a half-second later, like the lot was trying to keep up. Agnes had stepped outside without opening the door and held the leather guest book in 2 careful hands. Her hairnet didn't move in the wind because the air didn't either. Sign, she said without saying, and you can make that delivery and catch breakfast at sunrise. My ELD chimed the same sentence with a new promise underneath, penalties waived, violations erased. The corner booth was empty but his logbook had creased itself into my name's first letter again. I stepped back and my heel came down on a penny that wasn't there a second before. There are rules you collect the hard way on the road, and there are rules somebody whispers in time to save you. Don't fuel if nobody else is fueling, don't sign a thing at midnight, and don't answer a handle you retired. I kept my mouth shut and my hands busy, climbed in the passenger side, and yanked the keys from a me that wasn't there. The seat was warm like a friend who had just left, or like a body that wasn't finished yet. In the driver's mirror, the pumps were modern and bright, in the diner glass, they were brown and the numbers rolled. I put her in low and eased off the lot without checking the clock again, because bait tastes like time. The driveway didn't meet the road the way driveways do, it braided, like it needed me to pick a strand. I chose the one with newer gravel and hit it at 23, hazards on, eyes forward. The speedo stuck on 23 like it was painted there, and the AM radio found a preacher promising second chances. I clicked it off, it told me my own birthday and asked if I wanted it back. Out past the edge of the lights, trailers sat nose out in a weed lot, colors from dead carriers and names that don't run anymore. Roadway, CF, overnight, a yellowed Swift with the T half scraped, a double set with snow on it in July. As I passed, a woman in a cab over raised a palm and shook her head slow. Her window was rolled up, frost feathering the inside, her breath made a circle and didn't fade. She mouthed, "You can't leave with what you brought," and pointed at my chest, at the hours stamped under my ribs. My phone buzzed with a voicemail I knew I'd already listened to last week. When I looked, the date was 2 months back. The photo roll jumped and lost a birthday cake, and my throat went dry as salt. I turned down the preacher again and the ELD sang its offer like a lullaby. Restore available drive time, it blinked, accept to proceed, penalty, 7 days you won't miss. That's the trick they talk through different mouths. You don't miss what you didn't watch, you don't grieve what you didn't name. The CB finally carried another human voice, or something that wore one close. Breaker 19, Bishop, take the scale lane at 225 when you see it, a man said soft, like he was tired of talking. They can't count you if you weigh where nobody's counting. Who is this, I said, and the radio chewed the name and spit Agnes back. Up ahead the highway signs changed fonts between blinks, towns flickering from present to old depots that never got interchanges. I kept it at 23 and counted poles instead of minutes, 3 poles to a prayer, 3 prayers to a mile. The on-ramp back to the interstate reached like a tongue, then pulled back as if embarrassed to be seen. The way station loomed with its closed sign lit red as a brake light, then green, then nothing. The voice on 19 said, "Don't look at the sign, look at the scale," and I fixed my eyes on the paint. It was old paint, cracked, but the cracks ran the right way, away from the lane, not toward it. Behind me, the seatbelt cinched by itself, locking my chest against the wheel like a hand that meant kindness. My foot slid to the trolley and I feathered brakes just enough to make the trailer say no. The whole set groaned like it was in a bay getting leaf springs swapped, and the lane stayed put. I drifted across the gore and into the scale lane without asking the sign anything at all. The platform thumped under the drives and a light I couldn't see clicked from red to green inside my teeth. I chose decline, hard. The prompt vanished, and the platform bucked like I'd lied under oath. Something clanged inside the scale house and a printer spit paper that blew across the lane empty as a white flag. Agnes' bell rang twice far behind me, too clean for open air. My speedometer unstuck. 24, 25, 30, like a cough turning into breath. The CB hissed. Breaker 19, you're clear, said the tired voice. Do not sign anything they hand through glass. I rolled past the closed sign and it flickered into a mirror of my grill and then nothing. In the mirror, the canopy said Wayne's, through the windshield, a chain truck stop logo burned in LED. The price boards matched the century again. I took the on-ramp steady, not looking left or right. The preacher returned to being a sports talk host complaining about a bullpen. The old carriers in the weed lot were gone, replaced by RVs and a boneyard of scrap containers. My ELD remapped itself with a hiccup and a red bar. Drive, 007. Violation warning in tiny letters like a threat whispered by a cop who likes you. I didn't hit accept. I didn't hit anything. I set the cruise at 55 and watched the mileposts. One green sign read exits by their normal names. The next read 23 with tape over it and NO services beneath. At mile 91, a state trooper sat blacked out at the median. He saw me, eased onto the shoulder, and fell in behind at a sober distance. I kept it between the lines and let him watch me decide. At mile 97, a church lot blinked on with a big yellow sign, truck overflow parking welcome, NO fees, God bless. I took it, slow, hazards on, because angels don't patrol shoulders. The trooper followed, then rolled past with a 2-finger wave under the visor. That's a thing only the living do. I set the brake and killed the radio and waited on the quiet. My phone buzzed. The birthday video was back where I left it. I played it and the singing sounded slightly off, like someone remembered the song from a different city. I watched it twice and decided small wrong was better than missing. Dispatch pinged. You good for 6 a.m.? I typed, yes, and added, never routing me through 23 again. There was a pause long enough to count my heartbeats. Copy that, came back. Heard things. Keep it on the big road after midnight. I stared through the windshield at a sodium light that hummed like neon in an old photo. I delivered on time, signed for cases that felt heavier than produce should, and kept my mouth shaped to say morning. Later, showering, I found a penny in my pocket that wasn't mine. It was warm, newer than year stamped on its face. I left it on the sink, it was gone when I opened the door. They can keep a cent. They tried for 7 days. If you're short on hours and exit 23 breathes hello, roll. If somebody calls your retired handle, turn the volume down. If the night offers you time back, ask what it wants in trade. Don't sign a guest book through glass. Don't fuel under a neon that remembers cheaper years. Keep your name, keep your days, keep rolling.